Hello and welcome to another installment of United Way of the Lewis and Clark Area's Advancing the Common Good series. My name is Brian Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of United Way of the Lewis and Clark Area, and I'm really grateful that you're tuning in today to visit with us about the good work that United Way does in Broadwater, Lewis and Clark, and Jefferson counties. Now, many of you, I think, are quite familiar with how United Way raises funds and provides volunteers to our family of agencies, the organizations in town that you know and trust that provide education, income, and health support to our community. Sometimes people are less familiar with our community impact work. These are projects that we work on from time to time because the agencies and the donors and the community leaders that you know and trust ask us to work on them. And one important issue in our community is homelessness. And so today I have a very special guest with me, Reverend Tyler Amundson. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. I'm glad to be on the show today.
And we're going to spend a little time today talking about something called Challenge Helena, which is one of these community impact projects that I mentioned. And so Tyler, tell us about Challenge Helena. What is this phenomenon?
So Challenge Helena is a group of concerned citizens, churches, community groups, anybody who's interested in being involved in it. And we're going to be looking at issues of poverty in Helena as we move forward. We really want to be able to look at these issues and to address them in a way that people can learn about them and then also make a difference about them. So our first event's coming up here in December on the 19th, Brian, and it's going to be a recording of you, actually. Brian's going to be giving about a 20-minute talk about real intense issues around homelessness here in Helena and help getting us interested in what's going on with homelessness. And then we'll be using that information to move forward to the point-in-time survey or a call to action, where we will send volunteers out into the community to record who finds themselves in homeless situations and to help build awareness, but also to develop an understanding of homelessness for the agencies and for funding for agencies. So.
Wow, that's a fantastic program. It's a mouthful and it's a fantastic program. We weren't sure who was going to interview here, in this situation.
Exactly.
But let's back up for a moment. There's a lot of moving pieces there. So we have an interest in organizing the community around poverty issues. We're going to focus in on homelessness. There's a chance to learn. There's a call to action. All those pieces. Pastor Tyler, why are you involved? Why are you the face of Challenge Helena today? Where does this idea come from, and what's going on there?
Well, I'm a pastor at St. Paul's United Methodist Church here in town, and one of our calls within my ministry is to look at social issues and see where needs aren't being met, especially around poverty, where people find themselves in situations that they can't find their way out of, or they find themselves not able to feed themselves. They might find them places where they don't have a home, and we really do find that valuable to look at. We started this movement by asking people in our church, but then the larger community started to get interested as well. And so people started to join in on that process. So I got into this because of my call in ministry, but beyond that, people just felt a passion to look at issues of poverty in Helena.
And so is Challenge Helena only for people who are part of churches or Christian churches, or is there some explicitly religious content to Challenge Helena? What's that all about?
There's no explicitly religious content. We obviously come from a faith background, and that's part of why I'm involved. But we're looking for anybody in the community who wants to address issues of poverty. We want people to help us look at those challenges, and the call to action is we want people to actually be able to engage with those challenges. And one of my calls specifically is for my generation, the millennials and the Gen Xers, to look at how they continue to be involved in the community. We know for a fact that millennials and Gen Xers don't find themselves engaged in social issues quite as often as our older predecessors.
Interesting. So we don't check our religious identity at the door. It's not about that, but it sounds like an engagement opportunity, and it's going to focus on specific issues. So this issue of homelessness is the first one that's kind of come up for the Challenge Helena group.
Exactly.
And so in your role as a pastor, what do you know about the condition of homelessness in Helena and the Tri-County region?
Well, we know it's a big issue because we have several agencies that help develop that. St. Paul's has worked really close with Family Promise, so we've been able to look at issues of homelessness through that. But we've also worked alongside of God's Love and seen what's happening right downtown in our own area. I personally am involved because I'm married to a person who is counseling with young children, and we hear about homeless situations over and over again that young children find themselves in. And homelessness isn't just an issue of the people who are wandering the street. We often think of folks as being homeless as that. It's also people who maybe find themselves couch surfing or sleeping on a relative's couch every other night. And so this faces young people as well as people who are adults.
So when we say the word homeless, I think our viewers sometimes get one image or another in mind. But what you just said about the definition of homelessness, that persons who find themselves in a homeless situation may or may not be noticeable to the naked eye, that our definitions of homelessness are complex and folks are experiencing a lot of challenging realities relative to poverty, and it doesn't always look the way you think it might, homelessness. And so, fascinating. We know that just recently, Housing and Urban Development, just at the end of October, released a report that there'd been about an 11% decrease, Housing and Urban Development was advertising, about an 11% decrease in homelessness across certain categories across the whole country. When we have our event, when we have this Challenge Helena event on December 19th, we're going to dig into the numbers of local persons in a homeless situation, and particularly children and young people in a homeless situation. And I think those that join us will be surprised that the local realities do not match up with maybe some of the good news that HUD is sharing nationally. We've got some pretty serious concerns here locally. Definitely,
and Brian, I think you know more about those pieces as well. I mean, you've been able to look at this, and I think your definition of homelessness is probably broader than mine. Because you are able to see the statistics from HUD, but also looking through your partner agencies to be able to see what's actually happening and who's coming for services in our community.
That's right. United Way, this is one of our core functions. We have a very privileged position to be able to see through the lens of 31 partner agencies and other numerous community actors how the phenomenon of homelessness is impacting our overall social service network and our overall community. So we don't want to give it all away right now on TV. What we hope, I think, is that folks will take an interest in this idea that there's something important and unique about what's going on in our local community as regards homelessness, that there's an opportunity to learn more on December 19th, and there's an opportunity to take action to influence the lives of persons in a homeless situation for the better. So give us the logistics one more time.
Yeah,
hopefully folks out there are interested now. We've piqued their interest. Tell us about the event on the 19th. When, where, what is it?
So December 19th, 6 p.m. at the Placer downtown. It's 21 North Last Chance Gulch, right behind Taco del Sol is how a lot of people remember that. That's where we're going to be, and at 6 o'clock we'll get together, we'll meet in that space and prepare to hear a talk about homelessness, and it'll be a fast, engaging talk about homelessness. And Brian, I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it, actually. It'll be really, really fascinating to hear how you've pulled together your definition as you've done your work in United Way. So come to that event. Taco del Sol's offered to take $1 off everybody's order.
Hey, thanks, Taco del Sol. That's great. Shalon Hastings out there. See, look at the community all working together. Thanks, Shalon. That's fantastic. So Taco del Sol will take $1 off our meal order that night.
So go get something to eat. Come on in. The talk will only be 20 minutes, so you don't have to expect a long night, but we want to get you understanding what homelessness is in Helena. And then we'll have a little bit of question and answer time with Brian after he gives his talk. And then after that, there'll be a question of if you want to volunteer further. Do you want to help with the Point in Time survey in January on the 29th?
And the Point in Time survey, the call to action is a fascinating component. The Point in Time survey is a mandated federal process. Housing and Urban Development conducts it every year. And on one night in January, this year it's January 29th, the entire country goes out to count as many persons in a homeless situation as we can find. And so the call to action here is for folks to come and help us be point-in-time survey volunteers, to help us reach out in our community and volunteer to find persons in a homeless situation and count them so that we can get our arms around the scope of the problem and move toward positive solutions and meaningful definitions. So that's Challenge Helena.
That's Challenge Helena.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to learn, we're going to act, and we're going to reflect, and we're going to do it around the issue of homelessness here in our community. So thank you so much for being here today, Pastor Tyler. Glad to have you, and glad to learn about Challenge Helena. And thank you to all of you who took time to watch. If you have any more questions about United Way, about the phenomenon of homelessness in our community, or about the Challenge Helena events, either the one on December 19th or the one on January 29th, give our office a call at United Way, 442-4360, or visit us online at www.unitedwaylca.org. And be great to connect with you, and we hope to see you at the events. And until next time, this has been another installment of Advancing the Common Good.